style, how to maybe come up with your niche style, how to some artists come up with their niche style. And throughout the years, I got to experience a lot of artists. I got to work with a lot of artists. I got to do a lot of conventions with a lot of guys that they are well known for their niche style. And I cannot refrain myself from ever asking them, how did you come up with this style? How did you how did you become so popular doing this thing? What drove you to actually come up with this style? And this past weekend, I was spending some time with Steve Compton from the FKRM Pro team in Canada. And Steve is a guy that I consider he's a niche artist. And I got to actually ask him, how did you come up with these little ducky things that you do? So today you guys are gonna see me with a phone in my hand because we're gonna be browsing and lurking some Instagram profile, and you're gonna see, I think right here, or no, right there, yeah, somewhere, you're gonna see my phone pop up, and we're gonna do that right now so we can actually explore some of the profiles and comment about it. So feel free to guys, there you go. So feel free to drop in the comments and, ask, because we can actually explore today some of the guys that you consider they are niche artists. And I want to start by showing you guys one of the guys that I think is a really good friend of mine, a niche artist, and that is Stephen Compton. So what we're going to do is we're going to fire Instagram. There you go. And I am going to share my phone with you guys. Check it out. Boom, that's my phone right there. And this is Stephen Compton's Instagram account. So Stephen is well known for doing those little duckies. He would actually transform any subject into this particular duck that he has done so many times over and over. Now, when I asked him, what is your style of tattooing? He told me, I cater to nerds. My clients are the nerds, and I love to do nerd tattooing. I've never heard of nerd tattooing before until I got to tattoo with him. And look at his stuff. So when I look at images like this one, that to me screams Stephen Compton, and it all took one customer to actually tell him to do a little ducky, and then another one saw, I believe, a ducky and asked him to make modifications to that duck. And all of a sudden he became the go-to guy for ducks. So if you want to get, let's say, a pineapple duck, he will hook you up with a pineapple duck. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? So he has done a lot of these things, and this is one of the things that actually caught my attention when I first saw his artwork. And also he started tagging FK Irons, and that's how I discovered him. And there is no doubt that, when you see this type of work, you know that you're talking about Stephen Compton. So coming up with a niche style is something that I actually always struggle throughout my whole career. Mind you, my shops were street shops, so you basically take what comes through the door, and a lot of the times you don't have a lot of time for the creative aspect of the tattoo. So people bring you references, or you have to create something on the spot. I personally, always like to do black and gray work. So, I did portraits and I did a lot of black and gray work, but realism, probably black and gray realism is what I believe is, what I'm known for. But again, I'm a black and gray artist. I'm just another black and gray artist. The fact that I do portraits, or an artist that does portraits, that doesn't make them a niche. So when we talk about a niche, we're talking about an artist that does something in particular that is actually scattered throughout every single piece they do. And every time you look at this type of work, you see that signature that screams that particular artist. And let me see, Sam Clark is there. See, yeah. We're going to be talking about Sam Clark because today I actually created a banner using one of Sam Clark's picture, because I consider that he's a niche artist in the type of tattooing he does. And again, once you become a niche artist, then you have other artists trying to do the same, or there may be a group of artists actually working in that niche. So Sam Clark is one of the artists that I admire a lot, and also is one of the guys that we've been sponsoring for the longest, and really good friend of mine. So let's actually go to Sam Clark Sam Clark Tattoos, and let's share his page. So right here, Sam, I hope I have permission to share your page. So right here we have Sam Clark's Instagram page, and boom, every time I see this, you know, I cannot help myself from thinking that that is a Sam Clark piece. And there are a lot of things that have, you know, his signature. So because Sam Clark is right there, and I wasn't expecting for him to be actually here. Can you tell us, how did you started tattooing this type of tattoos? Because, you know, every time I talk to some of these artists are niche, I ask them, did you started tattooing that from day one? And they all tell you, no, I started tattooing, doing a lot of things, you know, just like any other tattoo artist out there, you know, creating a lot of things that came through the door, and until I found myself enjoying a particular style of tattooing. So Sam, if you don't mind, go for it, man. Just whenever you get a chance, I would love for you to type here and let us know how you became the guy for this type of work. There are other guys that do this style of work, but I think that Sam was one of the first tattoo artists that I've seen doing it in this particular way. And obviously, you know, the niche, it's always niche until someone else comes and feels inspired. But Sam Clark definitely is one of those artists that actually has a style that is very, very unique. You know, anytime I've seen something like this, you know, I don't even have to read that it's Sam Clark, the one that did it. It has something that, you know, the piece tells you that Sam Clark was the responsible artist behind it. You know, let's take a look at this image, for example. You know, color realism, traditional. He adds everything in his tattooing. He's, you know, we can see here hints of traditional Japanese work. We can see here realism influences. We can see here, like I said, traditional tattooing, and you know, it's everything here, but it's done in a way that he manages to repeat the same technique and those same influences in all the pieces he does. So this is an amazing piece, and if you tell me what type of work is this, I mean, I guess it's neo-traditional, but at the same time has something about Japanese tattooing. It has something about American traditional tattooing, and it also has you know, realism, the depth and volume of, you know, color realism. So that's one piece right there. Like, for example, this one right here. You know, I wouldn't have to even see that there is his name at the top. You know, I can take a look at this piece, and because I'm very familiar with his work, I know that Sam Clark was the one behind this piece. So Sam, whenever you get a chance, there you go. So Sam is saying, I was inspired in the beginning by artists with similar style. Terry Ribiera inspired me a lot, and then a lot of Muka's artwork influenced my style. And yes, I can see the Muka influence right here. And Sam, thank you so much for sharing that with us. So let's move on with another type of niche work. And in this case, I am going to bring up my friend Unrich. Okay, so let's share him up right here again. I'm gonna move so we can actually take a look at his profile right here. So Unrich is a tattoo artist that, again, I take a look at his pieces and, you know, I know that he was behind his tattooing. And we're gonna analyze something that he repeats on all the pieces that he does and how he does it. For example, he merely uses black. Okay, his black and gray work is black and black and black. So that's one of the things that make his style of work very unique. You know, it's very black intense. And the other thing that he does a lot with his tattoo, he's always adding those kind of like that C, the half a moon on top of people's foreheads. That's a very classic touch that he applies on all the tattoos or whenever he gets a chance. And again, also the black tau eye. So his style is very, very, very unique. Look at that. So again, no doubt that every time I see some of his work, I know that we're talking about Unrich. So what else, guys? Is there any artist in particular you guys want to talk about? Because I am going to be popping them today, and we're going to be talking about those guys. Let's see. reading some of the comments today. We got people from Quito, Ecuador, people loving our machines and stuff like that. So guys, if you want me to review a particular artist, just let me know, mention it here in the comments, and I'm gonna continue. Now, let's touch another artist right here, and now we're talking about Andres Acosta. So Andres Acosta, or Acosta Tattoo, he became really, really famous for doing all kinds of rose morphs. So he will get any subject and incorporate that subject into a rose. So he morphs a lot of different design elements, and he will make a rose out of it. And I think he was one of the first artists, in my opinion, that has actually came up with that type of style. So Acosta is one of the guys that he became niche by doing this, and when you see a rose like that, you can tell that that is one of the pieces from Andres Acosta. Now, by the way, he's gonna be actually tattooing live at FK Iron's gift shop pretty soon, which is we were talking about that the other day, and probably we're gonna be doing it live as well and asking him a bunch of questions. But let's check out this video, for example. There you go. This is pretty cool that I can actually share my screen with you guys on the phone. Yeah, so Cisco Delgado say Acosta took the rose game to another level, and it's true. I mean, how many ways to do a rose are there out there, right? But he actually manages to always alter and find novelty in the roses. Well, this case is not a rose, but look at this. Right now we're talking about a donut, and he actually blend a donut with a cosmos with some what is that? Sugar. It's just pretty unique, and pretty sick. Here we have another rose. Amazing. Now I am going to move on to another friend of mine, and again, this is a crazy. This guy's a crazy artist. The one that we're gonna be mentioning right now. Let's see what else. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about that. Morph tattoo style like Arlo. We're gonna be talking about Arlo too, because Arlo, we actually did it live the other day. But yes, we're gonna be bringing up Arlo, and the artist that I want to actually touch right now, his name is Jesse Smith. Okay, so Jesse Smith, I think he was one of the first artists, and probably Jimmy Litwalk, but Jimmy Litwalk was at another level also, and Jesse Smith actually took cartoon tattooing to a next level, and when he actually came up with this style of tattooing, I was blown away. And let me share the screen right now. So there is no doubt that when we look at images like this one, we know we're talking about Jesse Smith. And you see this actually zoom in and out because I'm pinching with my finger. That's so cool. So Jesse Smith, took the cartoon tattooing to the next level. So his style is a fusion of traditional work, color realism, cartoon tattooing. It's basically everything you could go to school for in tattooing and actually applied in his tattoos. So the first time I saw Jesse Smith piece, I was completely blown away by the amount of detail. And there have been a lot of people trying to replicate his style, but I don't think that anyone has came close to the amount of, look at that. I remember this piece back in the days, and he's been doing this for a while. He's been doing this style of work when not a lot of guys were able to achieve that level of depth and realism. So Jesse Smith indeed is one of the artists out there in my list that now he's exploring a little bit of a different type of tattooing after the Ink Master and all that. But it's a guy that, you look at this piece, you look at this creature with a huge, gigantic eyes, huge teeth, and you're talking about Jesse Smith. So now going back to me, one of the things that all these guys have in common is that at some point in their career, something happened that made him make a switch and probably rethink the way they were approaching their tattoos. And like I mentioned before, a lot of the time this happened by coincidence. A lot of the times a client came up with a pretty cool request, and a lot of the time, you know, artists were actually looking for something different that will make him stand out of the crowd with their tattooing. Especially back in the days, and we don't have to go that far. When I say back in the days, I'm talking about maybe 10 years ago. Tattoos from now and 10 years ago actually took a huge, gigantic leap, okay? So we're talking about maybe 10 to 15 years. There was kind of like tattooing was kind of like stalled, you know. Yes, we had guys like Tom Renshaw, we had guys like Bob Terrell, Paul Booth, we have guys like Jimmy Litwalk, but it wasn't until maybe the 2005, 2003, and 4 where tattooers like Nikko Hurtado, Mike DeVries, tattooers like Jesse Smith, and so many great artists decided to take tattooing to the next level. So what happened there is that I think with the internet, a lot of guys had more resources to create a material, references, and also study art, study other artists out there. And I think the internet had a lot to do with all this amazing artists coming up with this incredible amount of work. And I think that, you know, tattooing has grown so much in this past year as well because of the amount of technology that now is available. I think that the fact that a lot of these artists can create more intricate composition using Photoshops or Procreate or this software have helped this tattoo artist to really take things to the next level. So I myself, like I said before, I don't think that I have found my niche style, and there is a plain reason for that. You know, I don't tattoo full-time like I used to. So in order for you to come up with that niche style, you definitely have to be devoted 100% to your craft. And basically, you know, from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed, you're probably thinking about what you're gonna do and how you're gonna take your tattooing game to the next level. So that is the advice that I hear from all these guys. You know, believe in a curve of design and try to tweak it until you find the formula. And again, these days has become so hard to actually come up with a niche style. But however, there are guys that are still coming up with a niche style every day. For example, Eastern European artists, they have a signature in their work. Okay. And again, Eastern European artists, yes, there were a lot of great Eastern European artists back then, but this past probably 5 years, there are so many Eastern European artists from Ukraine, from Russia, from Poland, from Czech Republic that are taking things to the next level. And those artists, some of them, let's bring one up. Actually, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna bring up Alex Pancho. Alex Pancho again. He is thankfully in the FK Iron Pro team. It's a guy that I really admire. His work is completely incredible. Let's take a look at some of Alex's Pancho tattooing. So this is Alex Pancho right here. You know, his work is very bold, very vibrant. He uses color without fear. He slams color, he slams contrast. And his style of tattooing is very unique. You know, he doesn't use sharp lines. The way that he applies saturation is very, very unique. Let's see another image. For example, look at this leg. You know, the use of blue, the use of black. He uses a lot of black. So again, when I see some of his work pop on Instagram, I already know that this is Alex Pancho and no one else. Now, speaking of Polish artists, let's go and explore the artwork of Tofi Tattoo. Again, great guy, great artist, FK Iron Protein. Tofi has taken the 3D tattooing game to the next level. So, and I got to talk to Tofi, was in the 2 Milan tattoo conventions ago, and I asked him, how did you come up with this style so unique and with a 3D world? So I believe he was a graphic designer, if I'm not mistaken, before, and he was doing a lot of 3D work, and he decided to start, playing with his 3D software. I believe he uses maybe 3D Max or the one that you sculpt. What's the name of that one? The one that you sculpt, if you guys can help me right there. The 3D sculpting software. So he uses, look at that. And this is like, I mean, this is like very Dali, you know, right here. You have this person with, I don't know, what are those drawers coming out of, or I don't know, but his work is completely crazy. And you can see that there's an influence among his work and probably Pancho. They do tend to have that style on their tattooing. Really crazy stuff. You know, these guys, they blend that color like no others. They saturate like no other. I just love that work. You know, so Tofi is one of my favorite artists as well. The level of composition is completely insane. You know, they come up with things that are so crazy. Let's see right here. Look at that piece. And again, this is like using, like I was mentioning before, technology has helped a lot of these artists to actually achieve their niche style. I believe he does almost every reference himself. So he actually 3D models the reference himself before he tattoos it. And he is not afraid to go big. As you can see right there, you know, that tattoo is completely insane. It's completely insane. So, you know, maybe a couple of years ago, if you wanted to become a niche artist, you'd really have to probably just rely on paper and pen and paper only. But look at this guy actually using, let me switch the camera. Look at this guy now using computers, using tablets, you know, to really take their work to the next level. I remember years and years ago, one of the most difficult things was to actually come up with references, you know. You wanted to draw an eagle, and you wanted to see an eagle somewhere to at least, not to trace it, but to at least like see the different postures, you know, and how you can work that composition into your tattoo. And right now, with the internet, it's so easy to actually go and Google, let's say, a phoenix or an eagle, and find a bunch of pictures of eagles, and then take one of those pictures and kind of like model it to your own way to see your style. Or a lot of guys, what they're doing is just simply like getting a bunch of references, and then they're compiling all their work in Photoshop and tracing it, and then, you know, coming up with their tattooing. Which this leads me to another great friend, an amazing tattoo artist, and FK Iron Pro team, Arlo de Cristina. So we were doing live with Arlo a couple of weeks ago. So if you guys want to watch it, it's on Facebook, as a matter of fact. But Arlo de Cristina also has taken the morph game to a complete different level. And let me actually share the screen right now. So this is Arlo. Crazy guy, Arlo. And look at that. He has taken that portraiture and cosmic and blend work to another level, you know. It's pretty insane to see his work, you know, and there's no doubt that when you look at this type of work, you know, we're talking about Arlo. So I also asked Arlo, you know, how did he come up with this style? And again, you know, it's just a lot of trial and error, and, you know, trying different things until he was pleased with the style that he was comfortable, you know, doing over and over and over. Now, being a niche artist doesn't mean doing exactly the same in every single customer, but it entails at some point applying the same techniques or the same style of composition, you know, for every single piece you're gonna do. In this case, you know, the way that he lays the black and gray, you know, those, for example, let me show you a picture right here. Look at this one right here. The way he swirls the shading on a face, so rather than going like straight black and gray in a transition, he will swirl around a face, for example. Let me show you a picture right here. Kind of like if they look, they're like made out of wood and stuff like that, you know. Pretty insane. Now, guys, who else you guys want to talk about? Let's see, Nick Baxter. Of course, Nick Baxter was the very first artist we ever sponsored. Nick Baxter, we're talking about back in 2004, 5. You know, Nick Baxter's work is just incredible. And yes, at that time, he was one of the very few artists doing that type of work. And I think that, you know, right now, when you see some of Nick Baxter's work, it's impossible not to know that you're talking about him. A lot of guys, probably new guys, don't remember who he is, but he is probably responsible for that style of realism in tattooing, that style of crazy composition, texturing, and taking tattooing to the next level. Guy Atchison, for example. So let's actually bring up Guy Atchison's page. Guy, there you go. All right, so when we talk about bioorganic tattooing, I cannot refrain myself from thinking about probably a couple of guys. One of them is Guy Atchison, another guy is Aaron Cain. Ty McEwen too, he's been doing amazing, insane bioorganic work, but there is no doubt that Guy Atchison is the father of this style of tattooing. He's just insane. He was one of the first artists to really take depth to the next level. Also, Carson Hale, very, very, very similar style, but only a very few guys are able to pull off niche styles. And like I mentioned before, yes, you may have one guy doing it, or you may have a couple of guys that are doing it, but it's not a style that everyone can actually pull off and accomplish, successfully. Guy Atchison's work is just wow, Look at that, to me, it was one of the very first artists that created tattoos that you can look through inside the tattoo. Look at this piece, adding that dark blue texture in the outside, and then atmospheric also coloring. You can see that inside there's depth, there is a atmospheric effect in it. So, and Guy Atchison, we're talking about several years ago. So when I first got to see Guy Atchison's work, I just couldn't help my mind being blown away. I just couldn't help it. It was like, wow, how, and it's still until this day, every time I see some of his pieces, I just wonder how he came up with that style. And again, in this case, probably his influences were Geiger. You can tell here there are deep influences from Geiger, but also nature. A lot of nature. I remember talking to Carson Hale. He was gonna tattoo me one time. We were planning a piece, and he was gonna model in clay the actual subject and light it up, and he was gonna create a piece for me from a model. So now, remember before talking about technology and artists using technology. So here we have, and let's actually check Carson Hale. Carson Hale tattoo. Maybe we see some of that stuff. Here we go. There you go. So I guess this is a sculpture that he did, or maybe some type of sculpture, but a lot of these artists, they actually love to sculpt stuff and create them with their hands. And look at that. Right here, he's taking pictures of this thing. Probably he's admiring the amount of texture that he sees there. And I see that a lot of those bioorganic tattooers or biomechanic tattooers, a lot of those people, they take a lot of inspiration from nature. Oh, there you go. That's a good setup right there, Carson. What else? Obviously, Carson Hale was the creator of the Numa. That was, I think, a machine that took tattooing to the next level. I had a bunch of Numas myself, and I cannot thank him enough for thinking outside the box. Carson Hale, a lot of those new guys don't even know who Carson Hale is. That's a shame on them, because he is a sick, sick artist. Carson also has his back done by Guy Atchison. And you can see, Carson, Guy Atchison, they have that style of tattooing that only them can pull off. And a couple of others in Europe that I've seen, but they're niche artists. This is not a style that you see every day done and executed successfully. So now it's time to answer the comments, because I kind of talk and forgot about you guys. No, I'm just kidding. I never forget about you guys. Mateo Simboli say Karol Rybalkovsky. Yeah, he's also in the pro team, and he's really sick with his tattooing. He does a lot of color realism portrait, and yeah, we're gonna show it right now. Sam Clark says, Kurt Dog's tattoo. Draw the design you like to tattoo and offer them for a discount rate or tattoo for 3 hours if it needs to be. Yeah, that is another thing. Who was that was telling me this? My friend Javi. You know, Javi, Tattoo Theory as well. He's an artist that he does color realism, but he does it to an extent that is very unique, and I'm actually want to show you guys. And he told me that the first thing that he did when he really wanted to, break from the comfort zone was to create great designs, and he was doing a lot of tattoos for free. And that's something that a lot of those guys have told me. I have an idea, and I offer it to my client at a discounted rate, or they will post it on forums and stuff like that, and that's how people would actually get to know them. And that way is how you can actually start becoming that niche tattoo artist. So if there is a style that you like, if there is something that you consider that makes you original, start creating these designs, post them on your Instagram, Facebook, whatever. And this day is so easy with social media, and offer them, and a lot of the times you're going to have to do a lot of free work to get the word out, especially if you're starting now. If you're starting now, it's more difficult to come up with that unique style, but don't be afraid. If you find something that you consider that makes yourself original, just do as many as you can, as long as you can afford them, for free or at a discounted rate. And bottom line, it doesn't start in tattooing. Most niche tattooers would actually begin on paper. Okay, so I see also like these days there is kind of like an urge for those new up and coming artists to be niche, to create something cool and just to be known. And I start seeing a lot of this regurgitation of a lot of other artists, and in the end, a lot of these artists that are very new. And it's okay, because probably they're still experimenting and they're still trying to find, but there is a lot of borrowing artistic elements from different artists and calling it a niche. I mean, that is not a niche. I think a niche is when your art blows people's mind and is completely different than anything out there. And excuse me, and probably a couple of people can pull it off. Let's see. Carl Grace. Okay, Carl Grace is another sick tattoo artist. His style is black and gray, and it's really, really good. I also remember seeing Carl Grace work and being blown away. And let's go to Carl. Carl Grace tattoos. Here we go. So let's explore the art of Carl Grace right now for a moment. Incredible work, incredible black and gray tattoo artist. You guys can see right there. Let's explore some of the other pieces. That one was a little bit hard to see. But again, when I saw Carl Grace's work, it was very, very, very unique, and reminds me a little bit of a Robert Hernandez work as well in some aspects. But again, not a lot of artists can pull this style and just refine it and take it and make it their own. And Carl Grace is one of the artists that, with every single piece you see, you can tell that is a Carl Grace piece. They usually entail a little bit of demonic elements and stuff that makes them very, very, very unique. Yeah, so Carl Grace, really great tattoo artist, and indeed an artist that has brought so much to the industry, and a lot of people, have tried to emulate his style. Now, let's move on to another black and gray artist and really good friend of mine. This is Victor Portugal. Victor Portugal came up with a niche style, and his style has been replicated so many times, but not so many people have been able to achieve it. I see a lot of artists trying to replicate his style, and sometimes it's kind of comic because Victor is known for excellence of execution in the shading, in the lining, in the depth. You know, those little elements floating on people's faces. You know, he was the first guy doing that, and then a lot of people try to do the same and borrow some elements and doing a lot of female faces in that particular way. Let me just show you guys something. He's actually gonna tattoo me at some point, Victor, and I have my leg reserved for him. But see all that, you can tell there, the little element on the forehead. I mean, that's great. I mean, and he was one of the first artists that I've seen doing this type of work. Look at this piece. This is a heel piece. Look at that. It's got some of Paul Booth, style, but again, Victor made it himself, made it his. And he's been doing this type of work. Look at the amount of detail there. It's just incredible. I mean, Victor is one of my favorite artists and also a really good friend. I'm probably gonna get to see him in Uruguay pretty soon. He's gonna be at that show right there, and we're gonna be there. Let's see what else. Man, sometimes I look at these pieces and I'm like, wow, man. How in this world? Look at the amount of shading of that piece. It is very, very light. The shading is super, super light, but it has so much depth. You know how hard it is to achieve that? It's kind of like you have to think in reverse, when you tattoo. Very light, very little depth. I mean, very little shade on the subject. And it's all about the sunken holes, the background, and that's what brings that piece, makes it pop. It's just insane. Just insane. Just insane. Just insane. Insane. And he doesn't do little pieces. He does a massive pieces. Wow. Great. I mean, Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee's another guy that also has the morbid art, but I wanted to show you another artist, and I forgot. I'll remember. What else? I have tried to be good at everything, working street shop 70 years, but it seems that most people in my area don't want what I like to do, and have been charging a little bit. Okay, yeah, and that's also a problem. Depending where you're located, your customer may not be that open-minded, but there is something that I suggest that you guys do is travel. Try to travel, try to land guest spots at other shops. Try to promote yourself. And I am going to make another video regarding how you can pump yourself in social media and actually expose your art and let other people know what you're capable of doing to help you out to get there. Because these days, very important. I mean, social media has come to play such an amazing role in the tattooing industry. That's how we discover tattoo artists these days. Back then was more you have to get the magazine or you have to go to the show. And let's be honest, these days, we discover all these great tattooers through Instagram, through Facebook. Some of them, they do YouTube. That's how people are getting also customers. So I am preparing an episode that talks about how to become, sounds like a marketing catchy, but indeed that's what it is. I mean, you have to be a good marketer to put your art out there. There are a lot of artists, that are amazing, and because of a lack of marketing, how to market their style, they fail at making a living out of their art. And that's what some people call starving artists. And I was there. I was there too. With my art and also with my tattoo machines as well. When I first started building tattoo machines and wanted to put my machines in the hands of more people, I actually learned and took advantage of the tools that I had at that time to expose the brand, to engage with others, and to communicate my work. So that live is coming up, and it's probably going to happen, I don't know, maybe next week. So let me keep reading this comment, guys. And thank you to all of you for joining us today. Who remembers Anil Gupta? I think I'm pronouncing it good. Anil Gupta. He was one of the guys, you know, back then that I admire so much. He used to do like small tattoos, and also tattoos with so much detail. He was crazy. Let me see if I can find his Instagram right here. And I left the phone right there. Sorry, guys. Anil. There you go. And I cannot believe that Anil Gupta only has 4,606 followers. And I'm gonna follow him. Wow, what a shame. So look, he actually removed a lot of his work. But Anil Gupta, he used to tattoo with a single needle and do a lot of crazy shading with a single needle. Probably he's not too active on social media right now, but Anil Gupta, back in the days, wow, man, his work was incredible. And he was well known for working with just one needle or doing like tiny tattoos, and incredible tattoo artist. So let's go here. All right, what else? Yeah, he had no tattoos. Yeah, I know, it was freaking amazing, man. Freaking amazing. Stefan Nigur. Yeah. I'm in New Jersey. I'm in Ecuador now, and I don't know where I'll be next, but I'm hoping for the best. I've met some badass tattooers and clients. That's awesome. Yeah, man. Guys, so to sum it up, in order to come up with your niche style, and again, the tips that I'm gonna be giving you are probably tips from guys that I've heard them, not from me specifically, because I haven't found my niche style yet. But number one, you have to dedicate most of your time to your tattooing, or whatever time you're gonna dedicate to tattooing. It has to be every day. The mission has to be to refine it. Okay, every day at work cannot be another day at work. It has to be a day where you're gonna be taking your tattooing to the next level. How are you gonna be doing that? And again, like I mentioned, now with access to the internet, you know, you can Google as many references as you want. You can check out art from other tattoo artists, although sometimes that tend to confuse you even more and kind of like push you in a direction that you end up borrowing a lot from tattoo artists. I remember Juan Salgado told me one time, one of the things that I do is I avoid looking at work from other tattoo artists, and I get my inspirations from somewhere else. And I think that has a lot to do with his style, because his style, it's not in, you know, his work is really amazing, and also he's an artist he's a niche artist. You know, you see his work and it's just, you know, Juan Salgado, but he told me that he doesn't like to look at work from other artists, you know, especially when he's looking for inspiration, and instead he will look inspiration elsewhere, you know, picture, photographs, nature, you name it. So that's another thing, guys, because these days I see that a lot of guys that are trying to come up with their own style, they end up borrowing so much from other artists that, you know, it's very obvious that they just took a piece from this guy, a piece from this guy, and now they call it their own style. And fortunately, guys like myself and yourself, guys that have been in the business for a while, we have seen it all. We are not easy to be fooled. So work on your art. Every day at work has to be a different day. You know, do your research. Maybe the way that you're approaching your references or your brainstorming has to change. You know, maybe you being focused so much on the internet these days, and everything you see kind of like structures you to think in one way. But I don't know, man, maybe take a trip if you can to the Grand Canyon, or take a trip at a place where you're going to be exposed to other things that you have not seen, or you have not got a chance to see in person. I think that is what you are going to get the most out of, you know, by exposing yourself to things that are abnormal, you know, to things that are hard to find on a daily basis. You know, that's one of the ways. Then, like always, draw. Again, all these guys have found their style by coincidence. They have found the style because they worked towards it, and maybe some guys, they were fed up with the everyday, you know, street shop type of things, that they just decided to do a lot of free tattoos about a specific type of subject or trend that they come up with, and that's how they become who they become. And a lot of them, they have taken advantage of social media in order to expose their craft. So I think that, this is it, guys. Let me just scroll over some of the comments. I really love that tattooing is never-ending learning process, and I like that even after many years, you still get every now and then that. Haha. It's true, man. I remember when seeing the work of Nikko, I'm like, wow, man, how are you gonna, top this? Nikko Hurtado, again, when he first came up with his realism, and we should have popped some of Nikko Hurtado's work, and let's do it right now, really quick, because he has been so influential in some other tattoo artists and also in the industry in general. I think that Nikko Hurtado is a guy that affected in one way or the other all of us. And here we go. So this is Nikko's page, Oh, I saw this piece the other day. Look at this. Just incredible. Just incredible, Nikko. And I'm glad to have share time with him, and he's such an amazing guy, to be friend with, to watch him tattooing. His approach to tattooing is completely out of control. So yeah, basically, remember when Nikko Hurtado came to the picture, he basically came and say, okay, here I am. Now, what you gonna do about tattooing? That's basically what his art did. He really made a lot of artists rethink the way they tattoo. So I consider him a guy that was responsible for taking our industry to where our industry is right now. Same with Mike DeVries, same with Nick Baster, same with Guy Atchison, and a lot of the guys that are killing it, and they were killing it as well when they first started. Look at that. Like, sometimes you don't know if it's a picture. Sometimes you don't know if it's, wow. And one of the things that I like about Nikko is that Nikko, he became an oil artist after tattooing. And Nikko, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I think I grasped from a conversation that we had before. He actually got into tattooing and then got into oil painting. And a lot of artists these days are doing that. They're starting tattooing and then they're actually bringing their techniques into oil. Look at this oil painting. This is just insane. Just insane. So, guys, there's only one way out to being original this day, and that is working your ass off, and devoting as much time as possible to your craft, and stop thinking or being mediocre. That is an advice that I've got it from so many mentors in my life. Don't think in a mediocre way, because the results are going to be mediocre. If you want to shoot for the moon, then you got to start building rockets. And that's it, guys. So who started the watercolor BS? I remember doing watercolor Amy Brown Fairly, but that was as there was no other watercolor stuff. Cisco Delgado, he said he's been doing watercolor work. But again, like I mentioned before, there are a lot of guys that probably are responsible for a niche style, and then there are just a small group that have managed to market it, expose it out there. And when you expose your art, your artwork out there, more people want the artwork. You get to the more of those pieces, and those are the artists that prevail in those styles. Let me just drink a little bit of water. I got that one right there is a cucumber that my wife prepared, water with cucumber, really good. Justin Nadine, he does a lot of that watercolor work. Let me just Google him. Justin Nadine's tattoos. Check this out. He does a lot of this work. Sorry, there you go. A lot of this work, and I see my convention. He's always booked, busy. There are a lot of guys doing, this watercolor game these days, but I think his work has something unique that every time I look at a watercolor piece, I can tell that he did it. Really nice guy, really nice work. Awesome. And let me show you another friend of mine that is completely amazing. There are two guys that friend of mine are completely amazing. One of them is Dylan Forte. You know, he does the pointillism thing. They have taken the pointillism game to the next level. And I'm saying they because there are a couple of guys that I really, really admire. Dylan, he's got a lot of influences from, you know, Nepal and all these countries and all that culture, Thailand, you know, all that stuff. It's just incredible the amount of work that he does and the amount of detail that he put. And again, most of his work is little dots and lines and stuff like that. And yes, you know, there are a lot of guys right now doing this type of work. I can mention there. Once Nishta is out there and a couple of guys managed to become really successful with it, there are going to be a lot of people trying to imitate it. But he's one of the guys that he prevailed. He is unique with every single piece he does. And it just blows my mind. Every single piece is just mind-blowing. I got to work with Dylan in Music, California. He was in our booth tattooing. He's just crazy. And the other guy also, FKR Pro Team artist, is Corey Devine. Corey Devine right here. Again, amazing tattoo artist. They kind of like started together about the same time doing this type of work. And it's just incredible, guys. So I recommend that, you know, you explore their work and get to see what these guys are up to, because they're really, really look at how mathematical this type of design is. And I actually talked to Corey. He uses software for this. I believe he does Illustrator, or I don't remember the name of the app that he uses, where kind of like kaleidoscope your style of work. And completely sick. And then there's another guy that does this work. Friend of mine, Alvaro. He's in Australia. Alvaro Flores. Alvaro Flores also took the pointillism game to another level. And I don't know if a lot of Americans know him, but his work is insane. Insane. I got to also work in Sydney right next to him. Let me see if I can find. Look at that. It's just mind-blowing. And yes, you know, pointillism has become a trend this day, but very few guys can pull it off. And I think that Alvaro, Corey, and Dylan are in my top 3 list of pointillism artists. Yes, there may be a lot of artists out there doing this stuff, but check out the work of these guys. You can see their Instagram right there. So I recommend you take a look at their artwork. Completely insane stuff. So people have been asking me to do videos in Spanish. Okay, en español. I am going to be doing videos in Spanish pretty soon. But it's just a matter of time, because in Spanish, I really have to make sure that when I talk, I remember all the words that I'm going to say, especially when it's tattoo machines. You know, I don't want to start mentioning a bunch of names of parts of tattoo machines in English, and then people will not understand. So I just got to get that time to do that. But guys, polka trash. Yeah, polka trash is also a style that's out there, hot, really good, and very few artists can pull it off. But guys, thank you for joining us today. Again, happy Father's Day to all of you guys out there. And again, work your ass off, man. There's not a magic recipe for success or excellence. Work, draw. Don't give up, and just shoot for the moon and start building rockets. Guy, happy Father's Day, and I'll see you guys in another episode of FK Irons. Take care.